You're going to have to explain why a lawyer who handled a couple of driver's license revocations and doesn't know what Article 2 of the Constitution is should be a federal judge in charge of your life, your rights, and the law.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into a fiery debate heating up the Senate as Senator Ted Cruz absolutely trashes a list of federal judge nominees put forward by the Biden administration. Cruz isn't holding back, and you won't believe some of the shocking details he reveals about these candidates. Ted Cruz kicked things off by laying into the qualifications, or lack thereof, of several federal judge nominees. According to Cruz, these candidates are shockingly underqualified, and what's even worse, they lack basic knowledge of the U.S. Constitution, particularly Article 2, which, as we all know, is critical since it outlines the powers of the executive branch. Cruz argues that someone who doesn't understand the very foundation of our government has no business serving as a federal judge. Cruz didn't mince words when he questioned the competence of Charnelle Bjelkengren. During her interview, Bjelkengren couldn't answer basic questions about Article 2 and Article 5 of the Constitution. I mean, imagine being in her shoes and failing to answer questions that any first-year law student would know. Before we jump in, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you never miss out on our latest videos. Alright, let's get into it.
And I gotta say, if the ABA tells you that if you don't know what Article 2 of the Constitution is, and you've only tried 7 cases, mostly driver's license revocation cases, you're qualified to be a federal judge, well, then the ABA ought to get out of the business of rating judges. And if you were interviewing a chief counsel, all of us have chief counsels on this committee, if you're interviewing a law clerk, and the interviewee, if you ask that interviewee, what's Article 2 of the Constitution, and that person said, damned if I know, would you hire him? You all know the answer is no. None of you would hire someone who didn't know what Article 2 was to be a law clerk on your judiciary staff, and yet you're all prepared to rubber stamp this person as an Article 3 judge. But I will say what's going to happen next, I think, is going to be quite unfortunate for the American people. Because what we're about to see this committee do is vote on several nominees who are so extreme, who are so unqualified, that they could not have a prayer of getting even a single Republican vote on this committee. And as everyone knows, Senator Graham votes for most of Biden's nominees. It is unusual that Senator Graham does not give a Republican vote to a Biden nominee. But there's a small subset of these nominees that are so beyond the pale that they have no prayer of getting a Republican nominee. And frankly, if my Democrat colleagues valued the responsibility of the Senate's advise and consent, my Democrat colleagues would tell the White House these nominees are unacceptable. This first nominee, Charnelle Bjelkengren, is so amazingly unqualified, she may well have the title for the least qualified nominee I've seen in 11 years serving on this committee. When Senator Kennedy asked her what Article 5 of the Constitution was, she had no idea. When Senator Kennedy asked her what Article 2 of the Constitution was, she said, I don't know. Mind you, Article 2 is the provision of the Constitution that creates the president and the executive branch of the government. Any first-year law student that didn't know what Article 2 of the Constitution was would flunk con law. This is not some obscure question about some Latin phrase no one should know. This is literally the basic architecture of our Constitution. By the way, Joe Biden has nominated her to be an Article 3 judge. Article 3 is right after Article 2. It creates the federal judiciary. I assume she doesn't know what that is either.
So, what does this all mean? Cruz is making a strong case that Senate Democrats need to take their constitutional duty of advice and consent seriously. Instead of rubber stamping these nominees, Cruz argues that they should be rejected for being unqualified and too extreme. And here's the kicker. Cruz warns that those who support these nominees will have to explain their decisions to their constituents, especially given the controversial positions some of these judges hold. Cruz closes by questioning whether Democrats are willing to put competence over ideology when it comes to judicial nominations. So, what do you think? Are these nominees really as unqualified as Cruz suggests, or is this just political posturing? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear your thoughts, and if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on our next video. Stay tuned for more fiery debates.